Hey guys! So with the August SAT right around the corner, I wanted to give you all some last minute advice for those of you who are watching this a week before or the night before your SAT. This is the secret to boosting your score without any extra preparation. First, if you're looking for a longer term way to prepare, I'd recommend checking out PrepScholar. I used their online program and it helped me to get a 1600 on my SAT. I recommend them to all my friends and like the entire internet, every single video I make, because they're just a really good resource. They match the questions that College Board will use for SATs very well. These questions and the content that they give you are curated by high-scoring test takers, so you know it's a reliable source. PrepScholar is really good if you need extra questions to prepare, since I know there's not a lot of content out there right now. They've got thousands of questions to practice with, along with really helpful videos and articles on how you can improve your SAT score, breaking down all the strategies you'll need for each type of question. If you're interested, check out the link in my description below for $50 off their SAT or ACT test prep course, or check out their one-on-one tutoring if you want to be personally coached to a higher score, if you need that extra bit of help and motivation to succeed. So, what's my big secret? Obviously, I did study a lot for the SAT, but not like an excessive amount. And on the test attempt where I got my 1600, I hadn't studied properly for more than a year. So why did I do so well? It's all about mindset. The way you're feeling and the conditions around you on test day can absolutely affect your score. So it's important to do everything you can to make those conditions work to your advantage. The difference between a 1500 and a 1600 for me, a difference of 100 points, which is pretty significant, was almost entirely due to the conditions I was in and the mindset I had about the test at the time of taking it. Okay, so story time. The time I got a 1500, the girl sitting in front of me, bless her heart, peed her pants and ran out of the room halfway through the test. This was obviously very distracting. I'm actually surprised the scores weren't canceled for everyone in her room. I don't even know. But I was also extremely stressed at this time in my life. I felt like I had to improve my score in order to get into the colleges I wanted to get into, and this created a lot of pressure for me. So, because of both of those things, I didn't do as well as I did the first time I took the SAT, and my score actually went down by about 30 points, even though I was studying a lot in between. So, how did I get a 1600 over a year later without doing anything in between that? Well, here's what happened. I was already pretty happy with my score at this point. In that time, I had realized that it was definitely a fine score for getting into colleges, and I was being way too harsh on myself before. Actually, the only reason I decided to take the SAT just one more time was that my school was offering a free test day. I was like, why not take it again, just for fun, to see what happens? And this was like peak pandemic, so I definitely didn't have a lot of other things going on. Since it was right during the height of COVID, only a few people could be seated in each test room. Both of these factors, me not really caring how I did, and having it be a much lower stakes situation for me, and having way fewer distractions in my room, led me to be in a much better mindset directly before and during the test. This helped to prevent some of the excessive careless mistakes I would make when I'm too stressed about something, and ultimately, this led me to getting a perfect 1600. So why am I telling you this? I promise you it's not just to brag. I'm telling you this because there are things you can and can't control on test day. You obviously can't control the other people in your testing room. They might be coughing, sneezing, tapping their pen really annoyingly, or even using the bathroom right in their seat. You can't control any of this. But you can control your own emotions, your reactions, and try to get into as zen of a state as possible before your test. If I could go back in time, I probably should have applied for testing accommodations way back then for the SAT, because I've learned over time that even small distractions really tend to disrupt me when I'm taking tests, and they legitimately affect my scores on exams by like a significant amount. It helps me so much to have a quiet space to take them in. If you need accommodations, I would highly recommend seeking them out. Not even just for the SAT, but for every situation you can, because they make your quality of life so much better. You shouldn't have to be worried about your score going down 100 points because someone next to you is tapping their foot a little too loud. But if it's too late for you to do this, or you don't qualify for whatever reason, but you still struggle with these things, there are still some strategies you can do to help yourself out. The first thing I highly recommend is taking practice tests under timed conditions with distractions as close to you can as the real test day will be. This will essentially give your brain a warm-up, so you worry less on test day since you've already been exposed to those conditions. You've been exposed to like the worst case scenario. If it's the week or the night before your SAT, I recommend taking one practice test, replicating real testing conditions. So take your test sitting near people, either your family, friends, and tell them to be annoying without like directly talking to you or other people. Like tell them to just work on something quietly, but don't be afraid to like cough or tap their pen, distractions you might encounter on test day. This pressure will help you learn how to deal with this environment, so you're prepared for the worst. I find that even taking a test alone under timed conditions for me isn't the same as taking a test surrounded by people for some reason. Like, it kind of psychs me out to have other people around me when I'm taking a test. So whatever psychs you out, you need to expose yourself to that thing before you actually have to deal with it on test day. And if you only have a couple hours left of preparation time, this is probably the best thing you can do if you find yourself having a lot of test anxiety. My next piece of advice is about getting into a better mindset about the SAT in general. There was a time in my life when I was very stressed out about this test and thought it would decide my entire future. Guess what? That's not the case. You will be fine no matter what score you get. You need to give it your all. Try as hard as you can and give it 100% of your focus for those 2 hours. But think of it like a cool opportunity to show how hard you've prepared for the test, how hard you've worked up until this point on everything school related, instead of thinking of it as the most important 2 hours ever. Because it's really not the most important 2 hours of your life. You won't remember those 2 hours in 20 years. You won't remember the questions that seemed so daunting in that moment. You might remember the smell of urine in your testing room, if you're as unfortunate as I was to get someone who expresses their nerves in that way in your room. But hey, you'll also have a good story to tell out of it. In all seriousness, the best thing you can do for yourself in the short term, with only a couple hours left, is to change your mindset. If you'd like more concrete advice on what to study the night before your SAT, go watch my video here on that. But if you're at the point where you're pretty much only making careless mistakes, the difference between a 1500 and a 1600 is your mindset. You've done most of the preparation you can at this point. Now it's about making sure you're in as good a state as possible to do the best you can do with that preparation. Take care of yourself. Please get a good amount of sleep. That will help reduce the amount of careless mistakes that slip by you. Also eat something, or at least drink a protein shake right before, so you're not working on an empty stomach. Make sure you know where your test center is, and make sure you have a way to get there with minimal stress. Leave early and give yourself lots of extra time to get there. Be sure to have all the things you need laid out the night before so you can just grab them and go on test day without having to scramble to find everything. Basically, the more you reduce the stress the morning of, the better off you'll feel during the exam. Wear comfortable clothes too. I would suggest bringing clothes that you can layer, like be wearing a t-shirt that you can put a jacket over, just so you can adjust to the temperature of your testing room. Be sure to charge your laptop and your calculator if you're using a calculator. Bring your laptop charger with you, your ID, your admissions ticket, pencils and pens, some water and a snack, and maybe a watch without an annoying alarm that's going to go off halfway through. Also, make sure you know your College Board username and password so that you can log on to Blue Book to actually take the exam. Most importantly of all, breathe. It'll be over in a bit, but you have to give it your all until it's over. You are truly amazing and destined to do great things, no matter what happens in those 2 hours. Check out the link in my description below if you'd like $50 off PrepScholar's SAT or ACT test prep course, if you feel like you need to retake the SAT after this one, but hopefully you get the score that you're aiming for the first time around and don't have to. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. Good luck on your test. You've got this, and go get some sleep.